right, welcome everybody to section 36. Um, this is not gonna be a whole lot of gee whiz information, unfortunately. Of course, that's what I like to do in every episode. Back when the two halves got joined, when the empennage got joined to the fuselage, I admitted a rather large mistake, and we'll talk about that again in this video. So if you didn't catch that before joining the empennage, then I'll be showing you how to fix that, of course. This is the usual stuff where you just cut out the plans, wrap it around the tube, drill the 6 holes symmetrically on these open larger tubes. Pretty straightforward stuff. Some people will 3D print the essentially the symmetrical holes that you drill around the tubes. I get it. It's a really smart way to have everything perfect, but following the plans is also completely acceptable. I'm very happy with how everything came out. Definitely measure everything 3 times. Even when you do, you're going to essentially want to triple check it once it's all fully installed. Here I am making the bell crank. Pretty straightforward stuff there too. I did have one problem where I couldn't get the bell crank to kind of sit in properly, but that was also because I had made a mistake in the way that I had not put one of those tubes in before joining the 2 halves. So I'm assembling the bell crank here only to have to disassemble it. So right here you can see that longer tube that's in the empennage is stuck, and I'm trying to figure out why at this current juncture. Here I am trying to play, and then eventually I just take off the yaw bracket. So if you installed a yaw bracket and you left that installed yaw bracket in before joining the or you did not install the tube before joining the 2 halves, you're gonna have to take that yaw bracket off. That was a huge bummer because I thought I was saving myself so much pain and so much time, and it is very tough to get back in there and do all of that stuff. So I highly recommend installing the yaw damper while the empennage is completely open, like I did in, I believe it was section 10, but there are definitely some pitfalls to that. Here we're just installing the tail feathers just to make sure that all of the measurements are right on the tubes. I did have to unclock a tube by, I think it was about 1 thread. Every time I go to put in an eyelet at the end of those tubes, I measure what is essentially 3 thread links, and then I put that on the end of the tube, and I'll put maximum something like 8.9 millimeters, so that I can easily see that when I go to do an annual, I can see that eyelet, I can run a micrometer to it, and if it's over 8.9, I know something has gone wrong and that I need to start looking at why is this eyelet backing up. You should be able to see that with marking paint, of which I also do on every single thread, as you can see here. However, and you can see the writing on the very top of that tube there. Essentially, I also want to know that I can just take a micrometer to it and look at it, and it will be fine. Here I'm hooking up the yaw bracket on the servo, also the pitch servo, and then it's on to the Tostin grips. I bought the Tostin tubes with the grips. Highly recommend doing that. When I talked to the person at Toston, they actually called me and they said, "Hey, we're making your grips." And they had a couple of questions. I answered their questions, and then they started explaining cutting the tubes down and all kinds of stuff, to which I said, "Wait a second, I purchased tubes through you." A gentleman looks back and goes, "Oh yeah, you did. Okay, great. So I'm just going to ship them out installed." And I said, "That's perfect." And he said, "You did the right thing." He's like, "It's quite a pain to cut them down." So anyways, I highly recommend just shelling out the extra $100, buy $50 a pop, buy the tubes. Anyways, so I'll see everybody in section 37.